Well, here we are. We're back, and I'm with my friend Greg DeMarco, and we're going to be talking about the law of modeling today. That's the 13th law of the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. And
Oh, we're getting through it,
we're getting
Don.
through. We got two more after today. So, yeah, the law of modeling, I think, is one that you and I will both appreciate because, we talk about mentoring people, in what we do, in our businesses. So, and basically, isn't that what the law of modeling is? It's basically, have somebody choosing to have a mentor. But what?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, that's what it is. I think it's you know I used to have a very very big ego. It's been shot down quite a bit in the last 5 years or so, which it probably should have been a lot longer ago. But um, you tend to want to do things on your own, and I've often taught this in some of the classes that I've had. Is never be afraid to ask for help for one thing, and second of all, never think that you know everything because it's just not true. And even the best, most successful people in the world, I don't care who you are, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, whoever it is, they all had help, whether they want to admit it or not. And one of the most important things I think in this law of modeling is that we look at others to see what successes they've had and how they were able to get successful. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, because if we don't look at others, who are we going to look at? Ourselves?
Well, that's just it. If you're spinning your wheels and you're constantly not getting where you want to go, maybe it's time to change things up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then by watching or looking at somebody else, you can see how somebody else does it. I mean, you've referred to that numerous times. When you started a new career, you always hung around with the guys that were doing most of the business because you wanted to learn what they were doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've said it. I don't know how many times we've talked about that, but the reality is simply this. Whenever I went into a job, whether I was selling furniture or boats, I latched on to the one, two, or three top salespeople in that business. Now, I may have 40 years experience in sales, and that's fine. I've got some tricks up my sleeve, but the reality is this: I don't know every situation, and I sure as hell don't know everything there is to know about sales. And if these guys are making money, then I want to know how they are doing the job that they're doing. So I latch on to
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I think that's a good way to do it. Because um, I remember when I started selling real estate, I didn't have a mentor. I thought my dad was going to mentor me, but he was busy running his office, so he didn't have as much time for me as maybe he would have thought. But it's like back in those days, it was you start selling real estate. It's like, okay, there's the phone book, go to work.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. Here's a
yeah,
phone. Here's the phone
yeah,
book. Go.
yeah. I mean, that was it, right? So and
On the job training, it
yeah,
was
on
called.
job training, right? But I think it's important for us to recognize that choosing the right mentor. I mean, you can find somebody that's successful in their career, but I think you want to make sure that you find somebody that's willing to, if you're looking for a mentor, that find somebody that's willing to invest in you. Because if they're not willing to invest in you, then you're wasting your time because sometimes mentorship agreements or arrangements are that you're going to help the person with their business, right? And I know my brother did that when he got into real estate. He was up in Kelowna, which is 200 and some odd miles, 300 kilometers away from us here, and he was working with it. The guy was a nice guy, but he gave my brother all the dirty work to do. So didn't
Yeah,
learn much from him. As a result, he was just looking for somebody to do the dirty work of his career. But
yeah.
anyway,
And that happens, and that does happen.
yeah. I mean, you want to make sure that somebody's willing to, that they're going to spend the time and invest in you. And I think um, you know, spend some time talking to different people and then find out what you need. Like I think also the thing I think with having a mentor, finding a mentor is if you get somebody that's not the right personality type for you, you're going to try to emulate something that you're never going to be able to do, right? So
Yeah, Well, that's just it. I think that, they talk about this quite a bit on the internet about, if you get a mentor, find the right person and here's how you do it kind of thing. And I just think you really need to find someone that you can resonate with who's very similar in approach to what you're doing. And you and I have talked about this before where we can emulate somebody and try and be what they are, but that'll fail miserably because you can take the tidbits of information, the little gold nuggets that they have to offer, but you have to make it your own. You can't just try and do what they do. You need to take it and sort of scribe it to your personality and then run with
Yeah.
it.
I think one of the things that John says in his book is he says the greatest leadership challenge is leading me. And
Isn't that a great
yeah,
line? That's just such a great line.
yeah, I mean, because I think we should all admit to that shortcoming. The hardest person to lead is ourself. And so
Yeah.
finding a mentor, and mentorship can be, it can be you can have formal agreements for mentorship. You can have informal agreements or informal arrangements. But just and sometimes if you watch videos, if you read a lot of books, different people like John Maxwell could be your mentor, and you might never meet him. But if
Yeah.
you're reading his books, and because John tells a lot of stories, so you're going to learn a lot from John. But so mentorship can take many forms, I think. There's lots of different opportunities. But
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's right. I mean, the reality is this: we have to try and learn from other people's experiences, and that's how the dawn of ages and decades of generations and everything else. That's what we do. That's what we try and do. We learn from the experience of others, and we adopt successful habits to expand our perspective. And that's really, I'm a big proponent of this whole perspective idea. On I do a lot of talks on perspective because we can't get anywhere in life without gaining a different perspective as to any given situation. And we get perspective a lot by just changing our environment, changing the people who we speak to, who we want to listen to, and opening our minds up to different possibilities. And I think that really encourages confidence, building our own confidence, and it pushes learning. Like it allows us to learn more. And really, that's what we're trying to do. If you're not, then you're probably not in the right business and sales. But I think we all want to expand our knowledge, and it's like who says that all the time about getting better one just a bit better than we were yesterday. There's so many personal growth gurus who are talking about that, John Maxwell being one of them. Just be better than you were yesterday, even if it's tiny percent.
yeah, 1% better in a week means you're going to be 50% better by the end of the year, right? 50,
Yeah,
yeah,
and you're never too old for that,
yeah,
too. I mean, this is I hate to say it, but I've had a lot of coaching clients in the last few years where I they don't say it. They're older, but they don't say it, and I think that they're too old
too old to learn,
to
change.
to learn. They don't know it yet, but that's sort of where it goes. And it's like, I was 54 when I had my first heart attack. I can't tell you how much I've grown in the last 5 years. And it's you're never too old to pick up something new. It may be. I'm not going to lie to you and say that it was quick learning. It got a little older. Sometimes it takes a little bit more, but I got
Yeah,
there. Now I'm not there, but I learned something,
you haven't
and I'm
you
going to
haven't
continue.
arrived yet at the final destination.
No, gosh, I don't even know if I ever will. But the reality is I'm trying to get
Yeah,
there,
I think I think
and I,
I think that whole idea of being recognizing that we all can learn more, and choosing the right people to learn it from, is all very, very important, things that we need to consider, when we're trying to get better. Yeah.
exactly,
So
exactly.
so what would you what steps would you suggest to a person, if they were looking for a mentor? How would you recommend they go about finding that mentor?
Well, I'd probably, you know, like anything, I talk to a few people to see about, if they know people who are good or if they're using mentors. That's the first approach I would take. But the second one is I want to be with somebody who is like-minded, and who has similar values to mine. And I think that's really important because I don't want to be led astray by going with someone who isn't like-minded and who has different view. I don't mind the different viewpoints, but there are certain values I'd like to stick to. And those values are mine. Morals, ethics, integrity, things like this are very important to me. And how they approach goal achievement is very important to me. So that's kind of how I start. You're talking to people, you're in certain circles of influence. You have to reach out. And that's kind of how I got into the John Maxwell thing, empowered living, and a few other organizations. And that's kind of how things went for me. So that's how I kind of started. I just want to find someone like-minded and who shares similar
Do you
values.
think the person has to be in the same industry as you?
No, I don't. I think that it could help to a certain extent, but I don't. I don't necessarily think that. One of the best mentors I had wasn't in any kind of industry that I was in. They were just, but I was looking for personal growth. And, you know, if I'm in the real estate business and I want to be the best real estate agent I can possibly be, yeah, I would probably find a mentor in the real estate business. But for personal growth, and you see, I think differently about this because you can have a mentor that is like a personal growth mentor. That's going to help you in your career,
It's going to help
like
you in
just
your
someone
life.
who's in your
Yeah,
life. Yeah, it's going to be both. It's kind of a cross section. But if I'm looking at specifically, I'm in the real estate industry and I want to learn from somebody, then I'll probably pick somebody in the real estate industry to do that. But personal growth is personal growth. That will help you in your life, your career, your relationships, your finances. It just spills over into everything.
yeah. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if yeah.
Yeah.
Everything gets better when you're growing personally. So
Yeah. But and you want to find a mentor who leads by example. That's important to me. And they kind of embody the qualities of and behaviors that encourage others. That's really important to me. Very positive. I want someone who's accessible. I want someone who not only has experience and wisdom, but I want them to have a certain amount of empathy, and that falls into that area of being a positive influence to you. And the benefits, I think, are you learn more quickly, and I think it inspires you to do and want to be more. And like that word I used earlier, perspective, I think it really expands your perspective, which allows you to grow.
yeah, yeah. They John he has an opinion about he kind of equates a little bit. He equates mentorship and coaching a little bit. I don't know that I totally agree with that idea, but he says that in his opinion, good coaches have five common characteristics. They care for the people they coach. They observe their attitudes, behavior, and performance. They align them with their strengths for peak performance. They communicate and give feedback about their performance. They help them to improve their lives and performance. So, any thoughts on that? You agree with John or disagree with John? He's pretty well known, so I don't know if you want to disagree with him.
Oh, you know me. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that if a person's going to look for a mentor, they should say, okay, they should say, okay, what's the ideal, right? Like, what are they looking for? And those characteristics, I think that that John says are for coaching people, I think are good characteristics for a mentor as well. You got to care about the people. If you don't care about the person you're mentoring, then like, why waste your time? And then be willing to give the feedback. Observe your attitude. Make sure your attitude is good if you're going to be a mentor, or being a mentor or a mentee. Because I think that whole idea of learning from somebody else that's already been there is something that we sometimes miss. I mean, nowadays you have so many different things that can pretend like they're learning, or doing things. You got AI. If you want to write a book, you could tell AI to write a book for you, but that's not the
Yeah,
same thing as sitting down with somebody that's actually written a book, to find it.
that's right.
So selling, you could say, okay, write me a script, you know, um, but that's not the same thing as sitting down with somebody and saying, hey, what's working for you? Like, how did you get started? What did you have to do? What's working for you now? What's not working for you now? And
Yeah.
also, I think understanding what your strengths are. Like, I think it comes back to recognizing your strengths, what your objectives are, and all that kind of stuff as well. So
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that there's a much deeper thing here, and I think that we have talked about this so many times about understanding yourself and awareness, self awareness, and your strengths, your weaknesses, and I think that goes a long way with understanding how you're going to proceed in life and making the best decisions for you. Because I think as we're younger and we don't have those experiences, we tend to make decisions that are questionable sometimes. And I think that has a lot to do with because we don't know ourselves well enough. And as we get to know ourselves, we make better decisions about ourselves. Mind you, doesn't mean we will make better decisions because we sometimes ignore and deny what we are, if you understand where I'm coming from. I know it's a philosophical gobbledygook there, but the reality is, I think that's what happens. And
you've never made
you
you've
know,
never made any bad decisions, did you?
oh hell no, of course I have, and I still
It's kind
do.
of, here, hold
It's
my
just that,
beer.
yeah. But the reality is, I'm more apt to laugh at it now and just shake my head about my own stupidity. But you know, listen, I think that in the end, we need to gravitate to those who have the experience, the wisdom, and the empathy to encourage us and who lead by example. And, we can get into a conversation about coaching versus mentoring. And, I have my own. I have my own issues with coaching in and of itself, but mentoring, you know listen, if you can find somebody, if you're in real estate, like I said, and you need to learn about what's going on, you're best to get a real estate mentor. If it's a life situation, you don't you know then just get a mentor that'll help you make decisions about yourself and will coach you through their own experiences. It's up to you whether you listen to them or not.
Yeah, yeah.
you
Should you
know
pay your mentor?
well, that's a loaded question, isn't it,
Yeah,
Don?
I mean,
Of
there's
course you
yeah, there's
should.
different types, like different types of mentorship, right? So, um,
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's like I said to you, whenever I'm in a company and I'm selling, I always gravitate to those who are the best salespeople, so I can learn from them. Obviously, they're not going to pay me to do. I'm not going to pay them to do that. That's probably part of their job, hopefully. But if I'm looking for life coaching, just trying to get unstuck in my life and move forward, I'm probably going to pay
yeah,
somebody to do that. And I don't have a problem doing that. It's no different than going and having some growth removed and you got to pay the doctor to do
yeah,
that. I don't disagree with that line of reasoning at all.
it's good. Well, thanks for your conversation today, Greg. And it's always good to get
Yeah,
together and talk with you.
yeah,
You
you
know, we got
too. Same back.
we're in the middle of March over here in British Columbia, but we got this huge blue sky and the sun that's coming down. It's not usual for March. Usually March is and 20-degree weather, 20 degrees Celsius. So we've had this incredible run of weather here for the last week, and
Oh, we dipped down into it's snowing right now where I am.
well, there you go.
So I'd say something really appropriate, but you know what? I just don't think the language is appropriate for this show. So
All right.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
Anyway, if we can help you at all, our contact information will be in the comments below, and we're glad that you're with us. Just remember to like and subscribe if you like this, and if you don't, maybe shoot us a question or two to let us know what's on your mind and what how you think you'd like to get better. So take care, and we'll see you next week.
Always a pleasure. Bye.